Hello, I'm Devani Alderson with vitalmediamarketing.com, and today I'm going to show you how to create social media graphics for promoting on your social medias, your Facebook, your Instagram, your Pinterest, whatever social media platform, and also how to add the watermark to your image so that your branding is always very clear on your image content, and when it gets shared far and wide, people know exactly how to find you. All right, I'm going to screen share now. So one of my favorite tools for creating graphics in general is canva.com, C-A-N-V-A, canva.com. They have both a free and paid version of the tool, so I would start with the free version. And one of my favorite things about Canva is that they have all these pre-set up templates, and they're always updating the templates according to the various social media updates and changes that happen. And they have tons of other templates to choose from. So presentations, letters, certificates, resumes, magazines, and you can create graphics for both online and offline. So if you're like a local business and you go to trade shows or farmers markets, or wherever you're going to in-person events, you need to promote something as a poster, maybe for a new book release or something, and you need a poster for that, you can make graphic designs for print. But right now I'm just going to focus on the social media graphics and sort of how to create those. I generally, for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, I just mainly focus on using this social media template. It's 800 by 800, a very standard size, a size that will fit on your Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook without cutting off the text. For Pinterest, I use this Pinterest graphic, and it's sized proportionately to be a longer image. And you can see when you hover over it, it tells you the pixel size of the graphic. So of course, Canva was kind of created before when each social media platform had like an optimal size for your image. But these days, this 800 by 800 is pretty standard across the board. So you don't necessarily have to do all these other ones. Now, one thing I will tell you is that for your header image for your Facebook cover photo, you definitely want to use like the Twitter header for Twitter's, email headers for emails, and the Facebook one is down here. For some reason, they don't put it with the other headers above, but Facebook event covers and Facebook cover, those definitely need to be the this pixel size. Otherwise, your Facebook cover is going to be off center, or the text isn't going to be aligned properly, or it's just going to look different or blurry sometimes. So when you're making cover images for your social profiles, definitely find the header that's here. So if you're doing YouTube or Facebook or Twitter headers or email headers, Tumblr banners, YouTube channel art, you definitely want to find that specific size. If you cannot find the size you're looking for, and it's just not in Canva, and you need to have a specific size for the graphic, you can use a custom dimension. If you can't find what you're looking for and you don't know the custom dimension of whatever you're trying to make, then you can always Google like, what is the average dimension for a book cover, or what's the average dimension for an ebook cover, or whatever you need to find. And generally, a quick Google search of that will tell you what the average size should be, and then you can just enter that into the custom dimensions, the width and the height. So for now, I'm just going to show you how to use the social media graphic cube. You're going to click on that, and it's going to open in a new window. Now for this, I've already picked a quote and an image just to speed the process along, but great places to find quotes is good. I like pulling quotes off of Goodreads and Brainy quotes. Generally, I just Google. So if I'm looking for business quotes, I'll do business quotes, and your Google search, it'll have Inc. Business quotes. Brainy quotes generally comes up on top. Business Insider quotes, entrepreneur quotes. If you're looking for like creativity quotes, oops, spell right. Activity quotes. You can find all sorts of images and quotes and stuff and things here. Sometimes if you do an image search, it can give you some inspiration for graphic elements that you might really enjoy and want to emulate for your own brand. So I'll cover that a little bit later. But to find quotes, just Google it, and Brainy Quotes, I generally stick with Brainy Quotes or Goodreads because they have a huge amount of different quotes. For finding images for free, I like Pexels, Pexels.com, and you can find free graphics that you can use for your social media and your website. You need, if you're going to be creating like a book cover or a graphic for something that you're going to sell, you definitely need to look at the licensing agreements on each photo that you pick. But for free distribution of social media content, you can use this. Also, Unsplash is a really great site. You can search images. They have featured images and user uploaded images. If you're a photographer and you need to create graphics, or if you're taking your own photos, whatever industry you're in and creating graphics for, that is honestly the most preferable way to acquire graphics, is just creating your own, because you own full rights to the image. You get to use it however you want. You don't have to worry about any breaking of agreements or creative licensing issues that might crop up. But not all of us do it. Not all of us do the photography. So, and Pixabay is also another great one. Of course, the best image source is Shutterstock.com, but you definitely have to pay for an account, and it can get quite pricey. So, if that's what you want to use, great. If that works for you, but if you just need images for free and you can't do the Shutterstock stuff and you don't want to do your own photography, these different sources are the best. Again, I already picked an image and quote, so I'm just going to get started with that. So Canva has free templates that you can use and click on, and you can just, it'll say free next to it, and you're welcome to use these. They have stuff that's already set up, fonts that are already set up for you to use, and you can just come in and edit this. If you want, you can change the font, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you can change the font if you don't like it. So you can use what Canva already provides for free. And I'm just going to delete that because I don't want to do that. Generally, it's harder for me to find what I want by using just the Canva provided templates, so I don't generally use those. So what I do is I upload images. So here's the uploads area. You're going to click on that, and you're going to drag the image that you choose for the quote into uploads. And I actually have two. And I'm just going to use, for now, I'm going to use this one. And you're going to size it for the image. And I like to pick images that have some blurred areas already, so that the text on the image isn't covering up the main attractive quality of the image. And then, where is the quote I picked? I had one picked out and then I switched screens, sorry about that. Here we go. Okay. Where did it go? So here we go. The best way to predict your future is to create it. And I'm just going to copy that. And these are your different, this is the text field. And again, you can choose, they have these free templated, cool text styling things for banners. I generally don't like using those, just because for me, it just really clutters the image. I mean, unless you're making a poster or a banner and you want it really fun and you want to drive, you know, people's eyes to read a specific speech bubble or something like that, you could use those. If you're drawn to those styles, feel free to use those. I just like using the straight text thing. So, and I generally pick the subtext, the add subheading, because this is really big. And it just takes up a lot of space and I just don't like it. But of course, you are welcome to your creative credit there to do what you want. And I put the image in the best space that doesn't cover up the main like feature of the image. So the feature here is somebody creating something. And the best way to predict your future is to create it. And I size it. This is the sizing area for the number, for the font, sorry. I'm going to pick a different font. When I'm picking a font, in the paid version, you can upload your own fonts. You can't do that in the free version, but they have so many to choose from. So you can go crazy. But my recommendation is pick a font that that is easy to read when you're scrolling. So like something like this is kind of, it's okay to read. Think about when somebody's scrolling really, really fast through Instagram or through Facebook or Twitter, it's a little hard to read. Or one of these scripty fonts, like that's definitely not easy to read at all. You can't even see it unless it's blown up really big. So I like to use really clean, clear fonts. So even if you're using a script, like here's one, that's a lot easier to read and it's still stylized a little bit. So you can get that pretty artsy flair if that's what you're looking for. But when somebody's scrolling really fast, they can still see it and they can still clearly read what's going on. So that's just something to keep in mind. Of course, you're welcome to do whatever you feel is best for your business and whatever, you know, tells the message that you're trying to tell best. But that's just something I would keep in mind. And again, if you don't use the paid version of Canva and can upload your own fonts and whatnot, they still have at least like 50 of their own to choose from. So you're good to go in that regard. And of course, I'm going to drag the guy's name. And you can obviously do this with your own quotes. Like if you come up with your own cool sayings and slogans for your business, or, you know, you want to relay a fact about something in your industry or create a more informational piece, you can definitely add your own text. You don't have to go find quotes. This is just what I'm doing now to show you the elements of Canva. And you know what? I forgot to grab my watermark. I'm going to grab my watermark off the site real quick so I can show you how to upload the watermark. That's honestly one of the most important things. I mean, aside from you're creating content, which is important, obviously, you want it branded so that people understand and recognize that this is coming from you and your brand. So I'm going to upload, this is my logo, wherever your logo is, make sure to upload it. If you don't have a logo yet, then just go to the text and add like, media marketing, I spelled that right, .com, maybe make it just a little bit bigger. And, oops, and then at least it's there, your website, so that people can find you. And I think if we were doing this, I would make it a little bit transparent just so it's not like super visible, but you just want it there so that people know like who you are and to get your brand name out. But if you have a watermark created, whether you create your own or hire somebody, I like to stick it right in the corner. And I don't want it too obtrusive. I just want it there so that if when people like screenshot it to share or drag it to their desktop or anything like that, it's there. And something really important about images is you want to pick an image that represents what you're trying to say and get across. A lot of people like will pick a random flower or something and then just some random like dance in the rain and then they have a flower photo. Well, nobody's dancing in the rain in the image, so that doesn't necessarily make sense. I mean, it looks nice and most people aren't necessarily going to notice that kind of difference since most people are just scrolling really quickly anyway. But it's one of those things that people subconsciously think about. So if an image makes sense with the quote that's being shared, then, and in the context that you're trying to share it in, then it helps the whole thing flow. So like for me, like if this quote was for, say, an artist, and I'm saying the best way to predict your future is to create it, and there's this artist clearly making something. And so that fits with the person I'm trying to reach, an artist, the quote about creating something, which is somebody there creating a clay masterpiece or to-be masterpiece, and predicting future. So it's obviously a younger person because it's younger hands, and they're creating something that will help better their future. So think about that as you're going through this. Of course, if I was like targeting authors, I might have somebody writing a book. If I was a gardener or a farmer, I would have an image of somebody plowing in the field or farming or planting a flower or a tree or something or a plant. So really make sure that the image not only matches the text, but also matches the person you're trying to speak to, something that's relatable to that person. So that's that on the image. And of course, on these stock images, if you search, like I searched art, and you can really go through and like pick something that grabs your eye. If it doesn't grab your eye, why would it grab somebody else? You know, like to me personally, this is a little bland and it doesn't have anything to do with art, so I wouldn't choose that. Or this is kind of okay, but it's a little bit messy, so I wouldn't necessarily choose that. This is a cool image. It's a guy clearly creating, and he's obviously been creating for a while. I like this image. So if I choose this image to use, maybe other people who like similar things as I like and the person I'm trying to reach out to online would also be drawn to that image. So that's something to think about when doing this. And then of course you save your changes. That's super important in files. So Canva will auto-save things for you, but I've had instances where it hasn't auto-saved in time and I've lost work, unfortunately. So periodically you want to come up to this file section and make sure it's saved. And then you want to name it, of course. So quote, create future, oops. And download. I always do JPEG because that's a standard image size. It's not too big. But obviously, depending on what you're going to download it for, if you're downloading it for a print poster or whatever, then obviously you can pick that. PNG is if you want an image that you can shrink, and then when you make it larger again, it doesn't blur or pixelate. If you need something like that for some reason, then definitely I would recommend PNG. It's just a better quality image. But if you're just uploading it to social media, then I would just use JPEG. Also on WordPress, like if your site can't handle large image files, then don't use PNG because that'll take up a lot more space than a JPEG image. And I'm going to download it, and Canva's really cute. They do quotes and stuff and when they're downloading your image. And another thing to think about too is when you're doing quotes, don't just do random quotes because everybody does random quotes. Really pick quotes that connect your tribe to you and you to your tribe. So whatever niche you're in, just think about, like, don't just do like, oh, I'm going to do a random motivational quote because, you know, that's what everybody does and that gets shared. If you're a gardener, do quotes about nature and gardening and things of that nature that really connect with your audience because that's what they want from you and that's what they're expecting from you. If you're an author, maybe pick excerpts from your book. Maybe pick a quote that embodies one of your characters and share that and post that and say why, explain it. So if you're an artist, maybe focus on quotes that really inspire your creativity. and that would help your audience be inspired creatively. And so yeah, that's a big thing to keep in mind. Just the context of why you pick a quote and the image you use. And again, it's time consuming and it adds an extra step, but it creates a cohesive look to your brand and feel to your brand. And people know that you're not just being random. And I think that is what a lot of quote image branding mistakes, that's one of the biggest mistakes in branding, is something that just doesn't feel cohesive and it's just being shared because that's the thing everybody's doing. So that's it for how to create memes and how to watermark them. I hope this was helpful. Please leave any comments you have below, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.